Hello guys and welcome back to FD. After Jack Rodwell almost sealed a stunning yet surprising move to Roma last week, we thought we'd look back at an XI of the most bizarre transfers in history that actually happened. Let's go. Goalkeeper, Giulio Cesare. We start in 2012 when Queen's Park Rangers pulled off a huge coup by announcing the signing of Brazilian international and Champions League winner Giulio Cesare. After deciding to leave Inter Milan following 7 hugely successful years at the San Siro, you would have assumed that Cesare would have received offers from the top clubs all over Europe. Yet the two-time Serie A Keeper of the Year's next career move would be to the small but ambitious West London club QPR. Flush with cash under the new ownership of Tony Fernandes, QPR started a tumultuous period of trying to buy success, with Cesare their statement signing in goal. The transfer was even more surprising given the Hoops had only just signed established goalkeeper Rob Green from West Ham a month before, leaving them overstocked in that position. One of 11 players to join that summer, Cesare couldn't help QPR's doomed campaign, as the new squad of foreign expensive stars failed to blend. As the side languished near the bottom of the table, Cesare was eventually frozen out in favour of Green, making just 24 league appearances as they were ultimately relegated to the Championship. Although Cesare would move on to Toronto and make Brazil's 2014 World Cup squad, his time in West London was certainly not a chapter his glittering career deserved. Defender, Lloyd Samuel. With football being such a global game, there is always the opportunity to go abroad to seek employment for adventurous free agents. Yet it still stunned many when former Aston Villa and England under-21 star Lloyd Samuel headed to the Iran Pro League in December 2011. Samuel had a respectable and solid footballing CV. A veteran of the Premier League, the midfielder had amassed 12 seasons in England's top division with Villa and Bolton, making 240 league appearances in the process. Yet at just 28, injuries had begun to slow down his career, as the Trinidad and Tobago international found his game time limited. Released by Bolton at the end of 2010-11, Samuel had a couple of failed trials at Leeds and West Ham United. But no one quite saw his next move coming, as the midfielder then headed to Iran to play for top division side Esteghlal. Reunited with former Bolton teammate Andranik Timourian, Samuel would go on to have a successful 4-year career in Asia, with Esteghlal and later Pakistan. A popular player, he even led the former to the Asian Champions League semi-final, eventually losing out to South Korea's FC Seoul. Eventually returning to England, Samuel's move to Iran stands out as one of the most bizarre, if not intriguing, free transfers seen so far. Defender, Tyrone Mears. Olympique Marseille have developed a habit of signing surprising British players in recent years, whether it be Joey Barton and his dodgy French accent, or the ineffective Stephen Fletcher. But none were more bizarre than the signing of Tyrone Mears in 2008. After making his debut and sole league appearance for Manchester City in 2001, the English fullback went on to have a solid, if uninspiring, career in English football. So, after spells at Preston North End and then in the Premier League with Derby County, in which he only made 38 appearances in 2 seasons, no one could quite believe it when French giants Marseille signed him following Derby's 07-08 relegation to the Championship. Clearly unable to believe his own luck, Mears caused controversy in Derbyshire by flying to the south of France to force through a loan move. However, things quickly unravelled for him in Ligue 1, as he failed to break into the first team at the Velodrome. After just 4 league appearances, mainly off the bench, Marseille passed up the opportunity to sign Mears permanently for just €1.5 million and sent him packing back to England. Mears would bounce around various clubs in England and the USA before more recently signing for West Brom. Defender, Steven Corker. In his time at Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp has managed to transform his side into European giants with some excellent signings, with the likes of Salah, Mane and Van Dijk emerging as some of the best players in the world. So, it makes it strange that in January 2016, Klopp turned to none other than former Tottenham and Cardiff City man Steven Corker. Once hailed as a future star of English football, the centre-back had seen his career suffer after back-to-back relegations from the Premier League with Cardiff and then Queen's Park Rangers. But in the midst of a defensive injury crisis, Liverpool desperately needed cover. Corker was technically on loan at Southampton at the time, but having played just 145 minutes of football there in over half a season, he jumped at the opportunity to upgrade to North West England. To make the transfer even more bizarre, Corker never even played as a defender for the club. Instead, he found himself thrown on as a striker in the dying moments of games that Liverpool were losing. Playing just 4 minutes of league football for the club, he did manage to help assist an Adam Lallana goal away to Norwich. Corker understandably described the move as an opportunity he couldn't turn down, despite the lack of game time that he received. Leaving Anfield after just 6 months, the Englishman's career has had something of a renaissance in Scotland and Turkey, but his move to Liverpool will remain his most surprising career move yet. Midfielder Juninho Faubert. To be signed by Real Madrid is a privilege normally only bestowed to the best in the game. So jaws were hitting the floor when Los Blancos came in for West Ham right back turned right mid, Juninho Faubert. Far from being a Galactico, the Frenchman was putting in less than inspiring displays for West Ham, making just 32 appearances in 2 years and never scoring for the London club. Yet that didn't stop Real Madrid taking him on loan in January 2009, much to the bemusement of Hammers fans everywhere. With an option to purchase at the end of the deal, it was an opportunity of a lifetime for a player whose greatest achievement had been playing in the Champions League group stage with Bordeaux. Yet his unveiling at the Bernabeu would be his highlight in Madrid, as Faubert quickly appeared out of his depth around the likes of Iker Casillas, Fabio Cannavaro and Ruud van Nistelrooy. He made just 2 appearances for the club and became a comical figure in the press after being snapped asleep on the bench while playing Villarreal. He returned to West Ham and his career eventually fizzled out with spells in France, Turkey and Kilmarnock in Scotland. The Frenchman is certainly not one of Madrid's best ever buys, but he is certainly one of their strangest. Midfielder David Beckham. Arguably the most famous British footballing export in history, David Beckham was just 32 when he decided to call quits on his time at Real Madrid in the summer of 2007. But despite having ventured to another of Europe's big leagues, Beckham surprised everyone by announcing he'd be playing for LA Galaxy in the United States. Revealing the deal 6 months before the end of his Madrid contract, Beckham sprung Major League Soccer into the limelight. Although a lucrative deal, many were still taken aback by his decision to head to a country where football was far from the most popular sport. Beckham's achievements as a player are often overlooked behind his markability and stature. Runner-up in the 1999 Ballon d'Or, the Manchester United legend collected 115 caps for his country and won countless league and European titles in England, Spain and France. Despite the drop in standard, Beckham was a huge success in the MLS, leading the Galaxy to 2 league titles. And his time only helped cement his status as one of the most recognisable sportsmen, if not celebrities, on the planet. Though the move may have been a shock to many, it proved a masterstroke by Beckham. Midfield, Esteban Cambiasso. Leicester City's 2015-16 title-winning campaign will no doubt forever remain one of the greatest in Premier League history. But it perhaps wouldn't have even been possible had they not signed an Argentine megastar the previous season. Esteban Cambiasso stands as one of Argentina's most decorated footballers ever, winning a La Liga title with Real Madrid and then 5 straight Serie A's with Inter Milan, as well as the Champions League and countless other domestic trophies. But while his glittering career in Italy came to an end in 2014, no one knew the then 34-year-old would head to Leicester City. Although the Premier League new boys were backed by ambitious owners, convincing Cambiasso to swap the San Siro for the King Power was a real coup. And he didn't disappoint. A tireless and classy operator, the Argentine contributed 5 goals as Leicester pulled off a remarkable escape from relegation. Entering April with just 4 league wins, they collected 19 points from the 24 left available to beat the drop. Such was Cambiasso's popularity, he was named Player of the Year as voted by the fans. Although he may live to regret not signing a contract extension, his year in Leicester undoubtedly helped lay the foundation for their stunning league title 1 year later. Midfielder Edgar Davids. A quick look at the Dutch legend Edgar Davids' CV and you'll notice an anomaly. Following the likes of Ajax, Juventus, Barcelona and both Milan sides sits an unlikely northwest London club, Barnet. But make no mistake, it's a match that really happened. Perennial strugglers, Barnet regularly found themselves fighting off relegation from the Football League. So, their fans were shocked when in August 2012, having survived the drop on the final day of the season for a 3rd year in a row, the club announced the signing of the 74-cap Dutch star for the following campaign. Brought in on a player-coach position, Davids chose Barnet as the perfect place to gain managerial experience. Playing 29 times in the 2012-13 season, the midfielder soon took on extra responsibility as he became sole manager of the side in December after the departure of Mark Robson. Barnet ended the season relegated to the conference. despite their 51 points being the highest ever attained by a relegated side. And it wasn't long before Davids' reign at Barnet would come to an end. In the conference, he was sent off 3 times in his opening league games and apparently refused to manage on away fixtures that required an overnight stay. After 68 games as manager, with 25 wins and 38 appearances on the pitch, the Dutchman resigned in January 2014. Midfield, Claudio Caniggia. It's not often that Dundee FC receive international fame, but that was exactly what happened when they announced the signing of Argentine ace Claudio Caniggia in the year 2000. Under the ownership of the Mears brothers, Dundee adopted a policy of buying expensive foreigners with the hope of selling them on for a profit. Caniggia would be the start of that experiment, but the Scottish club's fans still couldn't quite believe it when the former Roma, River Plate, Boca Juniors and Benfica star turned up at Dens Park. At the back end of his career at 32, Caniggia harboured visions of playing for Argentina in the 2002 World Cup. And with friend Ivan Bonetti in charge of Dundee, he was convinced that Scotland was the place to achieve that dream. Unsurprisingly, he quickly became a fan favourite at Dens Park. His shirt sold out of the shops, and blonde wigs were adopted by those in attendance. Scoring 7 goals in 21 league appearances, Caniggia helped Dundee to the Scottish Cup final at Hampden Park, where they fell short against Rangers. With Dundee in financial difficulty, the Argentine headed to Ibrox the following season, where a goal against Celtic in the final of the Scottish Cup would ingrain him in Rangers folklore. Caniggia achieved his dream of playing for Argentina in the World Cup again. It's just bizarre that Dundee was the team which helped make that a reality. Forward, Erik Chupo-Moting. Take a glance at PSG's attacking options and you'll notice a wild card in the pack. For lining up next to the likes of Neymar, Mbappe, Cavani and Icardi is former Stoke City marksman Erik Chupo-Moting. The Cameroonian forward probably couldn't believe his luck when, following relegation from the Premier League in 2018, the French Giants came calling for his services. While former teammates like Jack Butland and Ryan Shawcross are still battling it out on a cold night in Stoke, Chupo-Moting has been walking out onto the Parc des Princes pitch to the Champions League anthem. Despite scoring double figures on 3 occasions in the Bundesliga with Mainz and Schalke, the then 29-year-old had managed just 5 goals in a dismal single season in the Premier League. Yet, fortunately for the Cameroonian, his former boss from Mainz, Thomas Tuchel, had taken over at PSG. And with his side needing a cheap, striking alternative, Chupo-Moting remarkably turned out to fit the criteria they were after. Joining on a free transfer, he's largely found himself restricted to the bench. Never likely to force a place in the starting XI, the striker has managed 6 league goals from 29 appearances. The only thing stranger than his transfer to PSG was that point-blank miss against Strasbourg. Well worth checking out. Forward, Kevin Keegan. One of England's best ever footballing exports, Kevin Keegan was hugely successful as a player in the 70s and 80s. Only 4 Englishmen have ever won the Ballon d'Or, but Keegan's the only one who can claim to have won it twice. The majority of his success came at German club Hamburg, who he joined in 1978 after making over 320 appearances for Liverpool. While in North Germany, Keegan added a Bundesliga winners' medal and Ballon d'Or honours to his numerous English First Division titles. It was also at this time the striker ascended to captain of England and became one of the original footballers to manage and control his image rights and endorsements, profiting hugely in the process. So it made it all the more bizarre when in 1980, mid-table First Division side Southampton stunned the footballing world by announcing the signing of Keegan for £420,000, or roughly 1.7 million in today's money. Although flush with cash, they were hardly a force in British football worthy of Europe's star striker. His 2 seasons at St Mary's would prove to be an amusing if uneventful period. Scoring 37 goals in 68 appearances, his side managed a 6th and 7th place finish, scoring but also conceding at will. Eventually becoming fed up with the Saints' lack of ambition, Keegan headed to Newcastle in 1982, bringing his surprising stint on the South Coast to a close. So guys, that was our bizarre XI, but have we missed any big names out? Let us know in the comments below. Have we got enough for a part 2? That is up to you. Make sure you stick around on FD and check out more great videos as displayed on screen right now, and we'll catch you next time.